I'm Walter Norton. I live here in North Harpswell. My ancestors settled back here in the late 1600s, and family's been here ever since.
And I'm Chris Duval, and unlike Walter, I've only been here a few years. I moved here in 2003, late 2003, and have a business in Portland, so I commute.
I've been coming to Harpswell since the late 30s, 1930s. It was our summer place, and here I am many years later, still enjoying, in my retirement now, more than just the summers. We're here all year round.
I've been lobstering right in Harpswell. I started out right in Potts Harbor, rolling around in skiff when I was 8 years old with 3 traps. And Harpswell is a lobstering community.
My name is Maggie Drummond, and I was the organizer for Toxics Action Center and the Maine State Director from 2001 until 2004. And I grew up in Maine. This is a very special place. We all want to live here and have our grandkids live here.
It's a residential area primarily. We have a lot of summer residents, and we have a lot of fishermen still, lobstermen.
This is a place that we were told by lobstermen who came to visit from some of the towns in Massachusetts was created by God for lobsters.
I got to the gym and picked up the Portland Press Herald. It's on the front page, LNG, liquid natural gas terminal to be located in Harpswell.
It wasn't good news for sure.
Liquefied natural gas is natural gas that has been chilled, extremely chilled, in order to transport it. This was the first proposed liquefied natural gas facility in Maine, and one of not very many facilities around the country, and they happened to choose a community that was a traditional fishing community with a population of just a few thousand people. And in terms of proper and appropriate site for a major industrial facility, Harpswell was not the right choice.
If anything ever happened to one of those, it would be a terrible disaster. We were told that they couldn't explode.
But there is a history of explosions in the United States and around the world with some of these facilities. There are also issues in terms of spillage and pollution from the industry itself.
The first meeting that we had, I remember a woman stood up and she had a picture of a propeller that was on these boats, and she was standing beside it, and she was so small in comparison to this large propeller. I knew it right there. That was the end of Middle Bay if those tankers came in.
When an liquid natural gas tanker comes in, they're huge, and you can't get within, I don't know, a quarter of a mile or so. I forget the exact distance.
There's a 2-mile armed exclusion zone.
2 miles, so the fishing boats couldn't get around them.
This is where we live. This is our livelihood, and it wasn't about politics. It was about the right thing for this community. And myself and many other fishermen felt very passionately about our community and keeping it relatively safe and keeping our way of life going on.
When we knew who the opposition was, it was a joint venture between ConocoPhillips and TransCanada.
We were fighting a big mountain. I mean, 2 multi-billion-dollar corporations.
With the little group that we had, we started organizing.
Our group is called Fair Play for Harpswell, and it just kind of came together organically.
I think we had a group of maybe a dozen people, and I think we were all leaders in our own little way. And we were almost working together, but we were not working together. And we needed to have someone from the outside come in and quiet us down because we were spinning. And that's where it was helpful to have Toxic Action come in and say, now slow down, you each have a direction to go in, and it's good, but I think what you need to do is slow down and do one thing at a time.
We were kind of chaotic. We had no idea what to do. We'd just all get together in a room and everybody'd have 10 different ideas, and we hadn't done it before, so we didn't have any expertise at organizing a community or what we should do. We just knew we didn't want this thing and it was horrible. And luckily we met Maggie Drummond early on, and she came to our meetings and brought order to the meeting, a clear plan, the strategy of we knew let's plan for the election because that's the way we can beat this. Maggie was really very instrumental in getting the fishermen organized and involved too. So that was Toxic Action Center really helped get them on board, and we worked together in concert. We had two separate groups, but worked together in concert. So I think that was really, really helpful.
The first time that I went out to Harpswell, we had a packed room of citizens from the town, and I knew right away that they would be a very strong citizen organization, and that I wanted to be part of that campaign. The best part about these groups is that they were having fun together, and they were celebrating every step in the campaign, even when they felt like they were losing ground at certain points. So spending a Saturday morning in Harpswell never felt like work to me. It always felt like we were all in this together. Toxic Action Center has a whole series of trainings that we do with citizen activist groups. And with this campaign, we literally employed every training that we had. When I started working with the group and I told them that they needed to get out and go door to door and make phone calls to voters in order to win this campaign because they had this vote happening, they all looked at me like I was crazy.
There was some initial resistance to it, but once we started doing it, we saw how valuable it was. And I was probably really nervous about doing it, but I got teamed with Connie Tassinari, who'd done this kind of thing before, and also has a magnetic, engaging personality. So she would go up, she could get anybody to at least talk to us.
Connie said, "I'll go with you, Chris."
We had sheets. We had all the names of everyone in town. Let's do it. And we distributed these. Would you call 50 people? Do you have 2 friends who would call 50 people? And can you get back to me in 4 days? They would get it done. I did my 50. I did. And everyone, I think that made the community come together. I did my part. I did my part. And we did it.
We did a lot of knocking on doors and talking to a lot of people that I think, quite frankly, were impressed.
The result was that after a year of pretty intense work on all of our parts, that they swept the 4 questions that were on the ballot related to the liquefied natural gas proposal.
We won.
Yeah.
We won.
I could hardly breathe. It was almost like, did we really?
It was right up there with watching my kids being born. It was a pretty good feeling, and it was the ultimate payoff for a lot of hard work.
They called me, and I had been waiting for the call, and I couldn't understand who was on the phone or what they were saying, except that they were all screaming on the other end of the line. And there was so much joy in that moment. I'll just never forget that.
I never had so many friends. That's one thing. They were just wonderful to work with. We learned that wherever you turned in this community, there are people here to help and do what is right for the community.
Making those friendships of people that I've known really my whole life and fished around, but to get to know them on a different level, and the different personalities and the different color that everybody brought, those times were quite precious, really, quite precious.
I think really all the people from our core group of 12 or 15 are lifelong friends. And Walter's actually adopted me as a result of Toxic Action Center is always welcome in Harpswell, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Among our group, and I think none of us have forgotten what you guys did to help us.
The real message, I think, for activists everywhere is you may feel like the underdog at first, but your potential is limitless if you stick together.